Chair, our session today and a number of draft resolutions, countries in the Asia-Pacific region face significant risks from disasters. This past December marked the 10th year anniversary of the Indian Ocean tsunami that devastated parts of Indonesia and Thailand, causing large-scale damage and loss of life throughout the region. Canada played a significant role in the recovery and the rebuilding process in this region and in aiding countries to develop better mechanisms to cope with and prepare for natural disasters. In the years following that disaster, the Canadian government provided some $425 million for relief and reconstruction, in addition to some $230 million that was donated by the Canadian public. More recently, Canadians and Canadian parliamentarians have again aided events in the region, such as the devastation caused in 2013 by Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. We have responded with significant contributions and with solidarity towards the millions of people who were affected. Canada contributed to the emergency response in support of the Philippine government. Our country was one of the first responders, and individual Canadians raised more than $85 million for Canada's Typhoon Haiyan Relief Fund, with donations that were matched by the Government of Canada. Canada also supports the Asian Development Bank with funding towards their Integrated Disaster Risk Management Fund, which promotes cooperation and innovative solutions for increased resilience across Southeast Asia. In addition, Canada has provided funding to the Canadian Red Cross and the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent for their Strengthening Community Resilience to Natural Disasters project. Given the Asia-Pacific region's increasing role as an engine for global growth and a conduit for international trade, investment, travel, and communications, we must consider that building the region's resilience to disasters is a priority concern. That sentiment was captured in the APPF's 2014 resolution on this issue, which highlighted the urgent need to build resilient societies that are prepared to manage natural disasters. In Canada, our multi-stakeholder Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, which was developed in 2009 as part of our implementation of the Hyogo framework, recognizes that a focus on mitigation and prevention can lessen the impact of disasters while also reducing the costs that can result from disaster events. Given that emergency management is a shared responsibility in Canada's federal system, cooperation and coordination between our different levels of government is critical. Moreover, as local actors and authorities are usually the first to respond, strengthening their capacity to do so is an important element of disaster prevention and response. As such, under Canada's Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, there is a Resilient Communities Working Group that aims to empower communities, including those in rural, remote, and coastal areas, as well as First Nations, to build resilience and increase understanding of their role in disaster risk reduction. Colleagues, we have discussed the importance of disaster risk reduction at many APPF meetings and other forums. However, our consideration of the topic this year is arguably even more significant, given the international consultations and negotiations that are underway, which will establish a global approach to development for years to come. As we consider the post-2015 successor framework to Hyogo, we need to ensure that we bring forward key elements that have worked well, including the focus on early warning systems and risk assessments, the strengthening of policy and legislative frameworks, and investments in disaster preparedness. I would also highlight the Hyogo framework's recognition of the need to integrate a gender perspective into all disaster risk management policies, plans, and decision-making processes. Going forward, it is important that we maintain a focus on high-risk populations, including women and children. We have the opportunity to ensure that the post-2015 framework for disaster risk reduction addresses more explicitly and consistently the underlying factors that contribute to disaster risk, such as poverty, weak governance, and high-risk urban land use planning. We need to ensure that we work proactively to promote individual and community resilience, a concept that is also relevant to our efforts targeting climate change adaptation and sustainability. In the lead up to the March 2015 World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in Japan, we should also consider how we can strengthen cooperation with the private sector, including through public-private partnerships. In general, as we finalize the post-2015 framework, we should consider ways in which we can reinforce the role that all societal groups and actors have in disaster risk reduction. The need for such an approach was reflected in Canada's National Disaster Mitigation Strategy. Its overarching goal is to protect lives and maintain resilient, sustainable communities by fostering disaster risk reduction as a way of life. In closing, we hope that this goal is one that we can share with APPF members. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a Canadá. Tiene la palabra.
Thank you, Canada. News